In an ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. Today I get to talk with a very experienced web developer named Jiho Sohn, who has had over 20 years of experience in web development, design, and project management, and has been leveraging generative AI for all sorts of cool things with his current project at PracticeMadePerfect. And I want to welcome you to the show, Jiho.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing really good, thanks. It's great to see you. It looks like the sun's shining.
Yes. It's every day is a sunny day, but nice to meet you, Mr. Rose.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. And I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. So just let me just ask you, in the last 18 months, what how has the generative AI bubble treated you and the projects you're working on?
Well, the generative AI, it seems like in the past 18 months, it seems like it changes every 4 months, every quarter.
Yeah.
Even the prompt that are written in about December of 2023, which is like 9 months ago, is now antiquated.
Yeah.
So every 4 months, we check what's been changed, what are some of the new updates. Even the technology right now we're using to do some audio with AI, that even has changed. What I've learned 6 months ago. So it's ever so changing. But one of the key things that I have noticed is that the prompts are becoming more efficient. We don't require all those lengthy keywords anymore. So
Right.
that's been exciting.
And of the commercially available GPTs, what are you finding is the most valuable one for the work that you're doing?
Well, like a chef, for instance, a chef doesn't have only one knife; it has multitude of knives,
Yeah.
like a woodsman as well too. Rather than focusing on one LLM, my advice is have multiple LLMs and use those diversely. So right now we use Claude 3.5 Monet, we use Gemini Pro 1.5, along with the new ChatGPT 01 for the reasoning. And using those three things, you can get a really more diverse kind of diverse response. And also a lot of the content that we are looking at too, when you only use one LLM, it tends to produce the same way. But if you use in one LLM, put it somewhere else and ask it to transform it, it becomes very more complex and diverse.
Yeah, that's interesting. And that's why I like tools like Avia.ai, where you have an interface that you can choose and bring those in easily. The different, you can choose between chat or Claude or whatever, and then use a similar prompt and then see what the output is and see what is a better base material to work from.
Yes, and then it's interesting too, like not only in content creating, but it's also in coding as well too. Like once I was driving to Sarasota, Florida, which is about 3.5 hours from East Side. And during my drive, I was talking with ChatGPT, in that case 4.0 Mini. And as soon as I landed in Sarasota, I had 60% of my JavaScript built out. But what's interesting is then when the drive back, I did it with Gemini, two different results. And then so always testing out and trying different models and seeing which one works best for that need has been the mindset that I like to been using myself and with my team.
Well, I love that. I love that you could manage your time so well that you're driving and coding simultaneously. That's awesome.
I do believe the talking to your device and a voice prompt is the future. I think the next media, the text as a media, will be more into a more form of the data than a media, but voice and video is going to be the future. So I think even talking to your ChatGPT, learning how to talk is very important. I've noticed.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, so what you're talking about here, maybe for some people they're saying, well, I got to do it here, I got to do it there. Am I really getting time efficiency? Am I really getting project efficiency from doing all this testing? So what's been your experience in terms of how your team's been able to free up time for other things by having the AI do some of the work too?
Yes. So one of the philosophies that we've adopted is in the workflow. It's called AI first workflow. So when you're solving a problem, try to think of AI first. Then once you put AI into the workflow, the humans always will be involved towards the end.
Yeah.
So the idea is rather than the humans being the task executor, the humans become the task manager and then using AI as a task executor. So to give you one example is that our content team, when they write content, beforehand, everything was written by hand. Now what we do is we use ChatGPT or those LLMs to create the structure, to create and get some of the facts for us.
Yep.
And at the end, humans are the one putting everything together. That kind of, we've noticed in about 4 months using that style, about 227% performance increase. And also, does it still creates error? Yes. Therefore, humans always have to be involved in the process.
I love that.
In this case, rather than a whole 100%, like good 40%.
Yeah, I love that. So humans in the loop is a very common statement that we make, but I like this AI first concept, and I think that's very forward thinking. So good work on that.
Thank you. Yes. I'll give you one more example.
Please.
Is that recently we've been organizing some photograph, and before we used to organize them by dates, like seeing the EXIF data. And then at one point I'm like, you know what? Why are we doing this? This is so time involving. AI will do such a better job at organizing those EXIF, but it cannot organize events, portraits, companies. So we start changing our workflow, less organizing by those categories that we know of,
Right.
put it and let AI take care of rest, everything else. And that has been a time saver in a big way. So AI first is a paradigm shift, but once you make it, you can't go back.
Yeah, I agree, especially as a content creator and building a warehouse of a good approved content and then calling on that content consistently really produces at least C+ work, and like you say, human in the loop to make it to burnish it and make it publishable.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think the future of even, as AI is going to be more and more prominent in our workflow, what is creativity? What is ownership? That's going to change. But I really do believe the future is not about creating new things, but more curating. Using these LLMs and different models, they're going to spit out a whole different ideas of suggestions. And I think humans, let's put all these things together, almost like a DJ.
Right.
Mixing things together to create a one curated a product that is curable towards that client's need.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, is that we were 5 years ago, we were already in an avalanche of content, right? It was just everybody's a publishing house, every business is a publishing house. And so now with the advent of these LLMs, we've probably 100x or 1,000x that content. And so it's our job as subject matter experts to grab and pick the things that are valid and verifiable and cited before we pass it on to our highly trusted networks.
Yes. And it's the part about this is the most interesting thing is not, as we talked about early on, is the speed at which it's learning. Also, if you look at the ChatGPT in this case, the month of the learning process is getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. It's no longer months and years. It's actually a few weeks. So at one point, that's just going to be in the live net. And how I think the future as AI is getting involved is not us going towards the data, but it's going to be more like the data coming to us. And that's the part I'm really excited about. How we can, and that is going to change so much of our landscape.
I mean, I think it's a very interesting point, and especially now that we know that some of the AI softwares are tracking as many as 15,000 data points for each human.
Mhm.
So, with all those data points, then yeah, we become a recipient of information almost just from our demographic and psychographic conditions.
Yeah. I mean, as a matter of fact, it was interesting. Like I now since ChatGPT 4.0 came out with the voice and with Perplexity, I find myself I don't use Google as much anymore.
Right.
As actually, I found it to be quite laborious to use Google, and it is during my experience how I noticed that how that is coming to me now, rather than me going into a whole bunch of forums, reading different ideas or solutions. It's all about how, as a human, like I have the problem. How can I articulate this problem into a solution mindset so I can get the answer that I need? And that's the paradigm shift too that we have to start thinking about. It's like, how can I get the answer as
Yeah.
more readily available? Yes.
I love that, and I do enjoy using Perplexity like a search engine
Mhm.
because of the way that they are so committed to citations, right? And
Mhm.
so you can validate the hallucinations a lot simpler in Perplexity than some of the other models.
Yeah. And I think recently we were solving some technical server issues, and then we were Googling. I'm like, you know what? Just let's use different way. Let's change the prompt rather than saying how to solve this, and say more like saying like this is the issue that we have. We think this might be a possible solution. What do you think?
Right.
And then we use Perplexity and verified it was ChatGPT, and then also doesn't do a second verification.
Right.
And it's almost like having a team of juniors and team of experts at your
Yes.
a council of your disposal, and you're verifying each one. And once you get a common consensus, you know that's a good answer, and that solved our survey issue. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. That is, yeah. So the juniors, or some people call it, having a 5-year-old that knows everything, and you have to ask it simple questions and ask it what information it needs from you in order to give you a good answer.
Yeah. Um, the one of the fun part about I mean, first of all, I wish I had AI. If I was just graduating from college, man, the kids these days, the future is so exciting. I wish I was there,
Yeah.
using AI to do so much of my work, because just leverage. I mean, the idea of having these experts as a junior to do some of the labor work, or an expert to ask some of these questions, is invaluable. I mean, this is why I got into programming a long time ago,
Yeah.
because I started learning HTML. Then the first program language I learned was PHP. I'm like, oh my God, you can create 10,000 pages with a few lines of code.
Yeah.
And AI is doing that at a much dynamic way. So I'm really excited about AI so much.
I love it. Me too. I think it's I think it's an amazing tool, and what I'm finding interesting is that the adoption rate is still only about 1 in 2 companies are even testing AI. So I'm curious, from your perspective, how does a company that's not yet having an AI first philosophy, how do they get started from your perspective, where you are now?
Gotcha. So, adoption to AI, adoption to any new tools does take some time. And it not only takes some time, but it also really involves us reevaluating our how to position ourselves in the workflow.
Hmm.
So, how we did it in PMP is that to introduce AI, rather than introducing AI as a tool, we had some playtime with it. Like we had a one small mini competition using AI to make music. So we have a PMP AI music playlist that everyone has contributed. So I think in order to adapt, find like a playful way just to engage with it more and more and more. And once we're choosing our health plan, and rather than reading those PDF, I just kind of said, hey, let's just upload these two PDF and have AI compare them and generate a whole new spreadsheet.
Yes.
Just showing that in a matter of seconds, I think helped open some eyes. So we are very AI really in our workflow heavily.
Yeah. So then, how are you integrating AI kind of in the back end of the resources that you're giving to your clients?
Gotcha. So we use AI to in web services. Web services are under three compartments. It has web dev, SEO content, content and SEO. In dev, we use AI a lot to solve some of the programmatical issues and errors that we have that would have taken hours to solve.
Yeah.
Content team uses AI to do, as mentioned, major framework and some fact checking and factual gathering. SEO, how we use AI is all like the graph. We hash out all the important information just using those data, and rather than doing all the Excel sheet ourselves, we upload those hash data and then have AI generated. So the times what AI really produce is time saving. And once you start thinking that way, how can we utilize this to save time? It's really hard to go back the days before AI. It really does. I mean, it's like using a food processor versus a mortar and pestle. Although I do use mortar and pestle at home.
Right.
You start using that, think, wow, I can do, and now I can make a whole bunch of other things quickly. So that's how we really see it.
Yeah, I love that. What are you seeing? What are you seeing in terms of like design elements and color theory? And are you using it for any of that kind of direction on the creative side?
So that's an interesting thing you mentioned. I think once I heard that music is an algebraic expression.
Yeah.
It's like, what that means is there's a certain pattern and a function, a rhythmic pattern that you could follow. I think design is really no different. There are certain, like if you put red and black, it represents it invokes a different emotions. So right now we use AI to help pick some color palette, but the design of AI is not quite there yet because I think humans' needs are very complex. It's not so simple as you can put into a function, but AI helping out some of the color decisions, like what color pattern that works out best for this emotions. I think those have been helpful, but so far visual UI UX wise, humans are more involved in that process. So,
yeah, that's interesting. I'll be interested to see how they, like, for instance, take and categorize the Louvre or some kind of a big repository like that, and how we could have access to that the thinking and the artistry that went into those types of pieces.
How about you? Have you used AI? Have you used those AI tools for those kind of experiences yourself?
There's a tool that's being developed that I'm aware of by a man named James Hipkin from Innovate that is an AI plugin for WordPress. That's a color palette tool. So it's still in development. I'm excited to test it and to see how it works out.
Yeah, and right now we're testing out a lot of other AI plugins as well. Right now I'm testing out Alt AI to even look at the images and generating alt text. I mean, like utilizing that way is really beneficial. And there's some other like text to AI voices that we're testing out right now too. So it is. I mean, I really approach AI like a 5-year-old. It is fun. It's just fun. I mean,
yeah, and I think you have an interesting combination of programmer mind and artist mind, and I think that is really the sweet spot for using the tools right now.
yeah.
Yeah, to be able to write prompts and interact with it in that sequential way. Yeah.
Yes, and just like that drive to Sarasota when I was coding, when I was talking, what happened is when I came home that night, I put in both two scripts in GitHub and see which one produced better. And of course, ChatGPT it looked like it was the site looked like it was from like 1990s.
Yeah.
And Gemini was a little more advanced in the style and how it looked, but they produce a whole totally two different functions. I just created one function to organically, like not organically, randomly choose 2 different arrays and merge them, and that was pretty much a JavaScript framework.
Love it.
Yeah, but the part about AI that I think is the future is when, let's say that you and I want to get an appointment, rather than me contacting you directly, my AI contacts your AI,
Yeah.
let them figure out what's the best possible date, and then the AI will tell us,
Yeah.
for Mr. Rose, does this work for you? Yes, that, and let them figure it out.
Yeah, I
That's
think I love that. The bots will talk to each other and set up the time for the humans to do what the humans need to do, but we don't have to go through the admin anymore.
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
that's the part that I'm interested in. Also, voice search as well too. Like,
Yep.
I know like SEO and SERP, those are really based on search engine related product. But I think the future of search engine is changing into, like, one call it reasoning engine, one call it voice search engine, a voice engine.
Yeah.
There's multiple terms, but even how, that's what I mean by data coming to us versus us going to the data.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you. I think that is the next phase, and there's a lot of triggers that are being followed that we do in our day, and data will be pushed to us by those people who can solve that problem for us.
Yeah. Well, I do want to ask, I mean, I know you're asking me some questions. I want to ask you some questions too. Like, so what do you think the future, I mean, how do you see the future of AI in the next year and a half? Like, I mean, I know things have changed so much in the past year and a half. What do
Yeah.
you
Yeah, I think it is we're on an accelerated timeline, like you're discussing, instead of like you were just mentioning, you guys do your review quarterly. I'm thinking, wow, I think that might be a little bit too much of a time gap in the changes that happen. It really is almost a daily and weekly and monthly change that we're seeing in terms of the leapfrogging in tools, right? And people are taking these the MVPs, the minimally viable products, are coming out daily,
Yeah.
and so there's lots of innovation that's happening every day. It's impossible to stay on top of it. I think that, like you're discussing, AI first is beautiful, and that we need to stay focused on where our gaps are as an organization, right? And then identify that gap, and then go to Perplexity or one of the other services. Say, what are the AI tools that will help me solve this gap, and use the GEO, use the generative engine optimization to find solutions to the current problems that we have. Because other than that, you just can't be the encyclopedia of solutions at this point. It's just too much.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting you mentioned that. There was a discussion that we're having at work for future, because we want to be ahead of the curve. And
Yeah.
I ride a motorcycle, and being ahead of the curve means that the decisions are already all made before the apex.
Right.
So, and another thing that I really like is Noah built the ark before the rain. Which is something I really like, and not the mindset of getting ahead. So we're even talking something like that at work, where I projected that I think the future of these search engines, reasoning engine, Geo, the large site, like 500, 700 pages, massive long text, are going to be penalized, because it's going to take so much computing power to process all those informations. And now people are, I mean, I think right now, what I read is like about 16% of people use ChatGPT, or it was still at a very low
Adoption. Yep.
yeah, low adoption. So once this breaks that threshold, everyone's just going to ask AI to summarize. I think we are going to see a shift where the size of a site has to be more compact,
Yep.
and the words have to be more less contracted, so these engine can summarize and optimize these things at a faster rate.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, Gio. I like that track you're going down, and that maybe we would be building our own kind of wiki pages that are optimized for GEO, referencing not just our site, but then all the other high DA interlinking that we need in order to be easily found, but can still have the deep dive necessary in order to be valid.
Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, it's interesting because the thought came to me when I was recently at going to a pizza place, and we want to order online. And we know this pizza place, we know the staff who works there. And when I went to the website, which is the first time, I was hit by a video and all these different things. I'm like, oh my God, all I want is to order a pizza. And I think even some sites too, like depending on what kind of product or service they provide, even they're going to change. For instance, like resumes. Resumes about like 7 years ago was very like 2-column designing. But if you look at most resumes now using ATS, application tracking system, they turn to more like a Microsoft Word document.
Yeah, exactly.
Websites too is going to, I really do think it's going to change that way, where it'd be more simple. So the site role is not for a human, more for to connect with bots. The bot can tell me, so rather than me going to a website, I want to order a pizza. What kind of size do you want?
Right. Yeah.
All right. Order it. And there'll be no clicking. Got it. Order it. I'll be there in 15 minutes.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm with you. And I agree. I think it's interesting. I think some of the fundamental marketing things that we learned 20 years ago about interruption marketing not being valid, we lost sight of that, and we went back and cycled back into it. All the pop-ups, like, I just want to go to the shopping cart and finish this. I don't want to sign up for an email newsletter. I don't want to put my text in. I just want to buy something.
Yeah.
Right? Let me buy it.
Exactly. And then eventually too, like right now, like being in this industry for about over 20 years, I mean, I came from a life where it was rotary phones. And growing up in Korea, we've seen so much technology, it changes. So I often say that it's not AI is going to take over your job. It's IA, inability to adapt.
I love it.
AI is really no different from the dot-com boom or from the invention of electricity or the first flight by two brothers from Ohio.
Yeah.
This is a life-changing thing. So we have to adapt. Don't fight it. Number one. And number two is that if you've seen the technology innovation that happened in the past 20, 30 years, and what took 30 years will take 15 now.
Right.
So whatever you think that's impossible, it's going to be possible. So let's think about let's think about this inconvenient topic now, so we can prepare ahead of the curve. Yeah. So even right now, some of the languages we're using for our materials are changing more towards like voice search oriented. Like if I'm searching on a phone, I'm going to be searching on a phone. Let's write our text and copy match to that query. So
I love it. Well, I think those are two great points, and I think you and I could probably have this conversation for the next 10 hours and be just as excited about it. I appreciate the dialogue and your strong narratives around AI first, human in the loop, and adopting it now. How do people get in touch with you and PMP if they want to have some conversations about AI or about marketing for attorneys? Yeah.
Great. So for us, our website is PMPMG, PracticeMadePerfect, marketinggroup.com. And you can find us on LinkedIn and Instagram and also TikTok. And I welcome you to visit our channels and then visit our site. And you could simply go to the contact page or to the staff page and contact me directly. I'm very active in LinkedIn, which is at JSOHN data, JSON data. And I post regularly about AI work, not only from generative AI, but also now I'm doing a lot more AI augmented writing. But my goal is to help bring these tools to people who needs it and who wants it, because the more we contribute, like open source, the more we contribute and more we use these tools, the better they become. And the fear is not the tool, but our ego of our involvement in this. And I want to really emphasize to everyone, people will be needed. with AI, humanity will be more emphasized than ever before. So let's lean into this tool, learn it, so we can really emphasize what humans are best at, making complex, creative decisions, and infuse our workflow with AI so we can bring value to our life and work.
All right. Well, that's a great message, and I'm aligned, and I hope that if you're listening, that you're going to get AI first developed in your company. Jiho Sohn, hang out in the green room for me 1 second while we close this up. And
you got it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was great.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.